It's just such a young person city, it's just booming.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Just like when your money can buy you.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gonna begin with the minutes. You should have all received a copy tonight. Thank you very much, Shannon.
Sorry.
No problem, thank you.
You didn't send the agenda, so you threw me off, man.
I sent the agenda
Yesterday.
late, yes. Yes, the agenda was a bit late. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at them really quickly. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dave and Dave again for you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Mater and Boyle. Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll move on to
Open,
Alan.
open. Project schedule, the 11 by 17. You can see the flag on there for the current status of today's date. We have submitted the 60% construction document set to the estimators, and we've received it back. Yesterday we had a reconciliation meeting with both estimators, pretty long session, and we have developed a revised budget based on those two estimates. And going forward, and I'll share that with you in a minute. Going forward, the design team is now sending, with your approval tonight, sending the 60% construction documents to the MSBA tomorrow. Submission actually is getting to the MSBA tomorrow. And then they're going to start on 90% construction documents. We're planning to send those to the same estimators on July 23rd, getting them back from them in early August and having another reconciliation meeting. So we've had 3 estimates now to keep ourselves in check on the budget, and that'll be, this one coming up in August will be the 4th check on budget. And spoiler alert, the budget's going down, which is good. The estimates are going down, which is what we hope for. So kudos to the design team. They're designing within the budget that we established for them. So not always an easy task. So that's pretty much the question, the schedule as far as where we are, unless there are any questions on that. No? Okay. Getting into the estimate reconciliation. As I said, the design team used VJ Associates. We use AM Fogarty for the estimates. Anybody remember what the construction budget is? I asked this last time. We have a
90, 89, 90?
Any other guesses? Construction budget, $90,122,000 is the construction budget, okay? The last time we met at DD, I believe we were at $85 million, so we've come down quite a bit from that. Our reconciled estimate as of yesterday is now at $83,244,000, so we're down another $2 million roughly from where we were at design development.
So without counting any chickens, that bodes well for the ad alternates, if those numbers hold.
The estimators also looked at the 4 ad alternates, and we do have revised numbers on those ad alternates. We had 3 ad alternates, we added one, we added the running track, okay? Each one, in rough numbers, each one of those ad alternates is coming in approximately at $1 million. Some are a little higher, some are a little lower, but roughly in that neighborhood. So we have $4,120,000 in ad alternates.
Say that again, please.
$4,012,000 in ad alternates.
And we're roughly 8 million under budget on estimates.
If you took the ad alternates with the construction budget, we'd be at 87 million, roughly $250,000.
Still below our original.
Still below the 90,100,000. That leaves about $3 million left in the budget for furniture and technology. Okay, if the bids come in where we're seeing them trending right now.
3 million over and above what we budgeted for. Yeah. In other words, over and above what we budgeted.
That's terrific.
Yes. That will bring us to, we talked about $1,500 per student. Was that it for both? The MSBA allows you $1,200 per student.
We talked about 17, I think.
Right.
17 was our.
17, okay. I think if you take the number of students and divide it in, we're right about in line with that budget. So that if we use all that $3 million for extra technology and extra furniture and expended the full budget, we'll get the building, we'll get all the 4 ad alternates, and we'll get the technology and furniture that we're looking for. the
The only
project.
thing I would change, Alan, in your statement is the word extra, because what this will do is just buy what we weren't sure how we were gonna pay for early on. So it's not getting us any extra technology or extra thing for the pictures. It's pretty much finding a way to fund that
Correct.
500 gap per student.
Correct. It's surplus money to the budget that has been approved. Okay?
I just didn't want the public to feel that we're $3 million under and we're gonna go find a way to try to spend it. It's basically, we've now filled that bucket we have, filled that hole we have of the $500 per student shortfall.
Yes. As well as cover the additional items we wanted, but weren't sure we could.
For the ad alternates. Yep.
And just to give you some numbers on the ad alternates, the roundabout is at $1,073,000. The new maintenance building is at $924,000. The terrazzo floor, pricey, $906,000. And the running track is at $1,109,000. So they're pricey, but they're good ad alternates. We still do not have to choose an order just yet. We still have time to do that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. The other thing in the budget is that we carry a design contingency for things that the estimators don't see in the documents until the documents are finished. That usually starts at DD at around 10%, or SD at 10%. It drops to maybe 7% at DD, and then we get to 60% construction documents, and it drops again. We are still carrying 3% in this budget for a design contingency till the next estimate. That's $2 million. So if they don't see anything more and it keeps tracking, we're still going in the right direction. We're trending in the right direction. It's all good news.
Is this real wood?
Get out of here.
Good.
Any questions on that? I have copies of the estimates. I don't know how much we want to have this spread around just because we will be going into a bidding climate.
And Ellen, the reduction in the cost is as a result of design efficiencies that the design team has found and recognized between versions, or what do you?
What do
does
we
that
attribute it to?
contribute? Yeah.
What we attribute when we start, we have a lot of cartoons. You know,
Right.
we don't have a lot of detail on these drawings, and so we're looking at square footage and historical square footage numbers as to what construction is. We're putting things in there for inflation. We're probably overemphasizing inflation, not knowing where it is, 2 years ago when we were putting these numbers together. And as with the documents get developed and more information gets incorporated into those documents, and somebody can quantify exactly what they're looking at on the architect's documents and the engineer's documents, we can start putting more accurate numbers to them. So it's a matter of give yourself enough budget to do the project, and hopefully it trends downward or stays the same, it doesn't trend upward. So it's just a lot of previous experience in doing this, that you don't go in low and come out high, you go in a little high and come out low. Did I explain that clearly enough?
Sure.
The devil is in the details.
Yeah, but it also is kudos, like I said, to the design team that they had a budget to work toward, and they have to design that budget. They have succeeded in that effort.
Well, I'm remembering them talking about, for example, stacking the wings in a way
Mhm.
that make them simpler in
Those-
this version than a previous.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining that some of that savings could be that.
Yes.
It's easier, yeah.
There's
So
all,
it's a sort of
all
a
sorts of
combination.
things. There's good design. There's not outlandish things that are going on with the building. There's there's good quality materials being selected rather than real exotic things. All those things add into it. Anything Bert or Curtis you want to add to that?
I think it's a combination, like you said. We knew we wanted to, have money for the FF&E, and so there's been a lot of decisions kind of on what's included in construction, what's not in a balancing act. And we continue to evaluate that really as we get the estimates in and decide, okay, well, if we're trending good here, can we fit a little bit more, or do we not necessarily need to put as much into the construction if it's a better suited to, you know, it's like technology is a perfect example because we bid it. It's 3 years before it shows up in a finished building. So it's better almost to do that as a package that you can procure close to the time you're gonna use it. So, you know, if we had tried to push some of that stuff into the project early on because we were worried about the technology budget and the numbers are trending, well, we might decide to, okay, we'll pull back on some of that. But it's a process that we continually look at, and some of those decisions early on in the, you know, in the DD phase, stacking of the wings and kind of simplifying forms on the building to improve the constructability, I think certainly played a big part.
I don't think we sacrificed anything all along. I think we just had a healthy budget and a cautious one, and we've worked within it.
Good, thank you. Good news. Does that bring us to you, Bert?
Sure. It's hard to top Alan's budget news. But
You can kill him with volume.
But I can start by saying we were able to finish the submission on time to get it to MSBA. So, you can see it's still a big set of documents. We have 4 drawing volumes. We've got 3 specifications. You can see that this one's getting a little bit thick to be manageable, so we'll probably end up with 4 specification volumes in the end when it goes out to bid. But just a large building, and there's just a lot of pieces to it, so the document set is pretty big and cumbersome. One of the things we do when we sit, one of the things I do when we sit with the estimators, because they're doing takeoffs, which is what the bidders are gonna be doing, is to ask them at each phase, okay, so how do we measure up at this phase for what you'd expect in terms of progress in the documents? And what can we do better to make it easier to take the numbers off, so that when the bidders get it, they're all seeing the same stuff, and it's easy for them to kind of compare apples to apples rather than, you know, this guy trying to figure, well, I think it says this, you know. The estimators are a great resource for us to do that, so those reconciliation meetings are good for us as an opportunity to kind of get a view of the project from that angle, from the estimator or the people doing takeoffs and trying to figure out, okay, what's it really gonna cost to build this building? And that's been helpful as we that actually attributes some to the cost too. That's another piece of it, not as much as, you know, constructability things, but if it's a clean set of documents that it's easy for bidders to find the information that they're looking for, you're gonna get better numbers than you would if they've got to search around and try to fill in some holes here and there and ask a lot of questions. So far the feedback's been positive. They've given us some good things to kind of incorporate, but we're trending in the right direction there. That's where we're at for the construction document update, is that we're at 60%. We've got what should be in a 60% set. It's going out to MSBA tomorrow morning. It's the volumes of documents plus our narrative to explain it, which is the binder and the schedules there.
I think, Bert, for the record, we need a vote to approve to send that to MSBA
With the budget.
with the budget. Seeing you've all had a chance to review all those documents.
I was gonna say, we haven't read it yet.
I did notice something on page 73.
Actually, I replaced 83 today.
That's funny. It's coming with having a blind faith, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for everybody to kind of dig into these, and even if you did, it's construction documents, so what are you really looking at, right? The narrative's easier to understand if you had time to read the book, but at least we like to bring it and show you that we're not just saying that we're sending something out tomorrow. This is physically what is going in the mail tomorrow. So, and we do meet with the district. We met again this past week to talk about colors and finishes and materials. So they're at least familiar with what's going on, and you guys can add if you've got any concerns, but we don't look at the technical drawings necessarily, the details, but.
I think it's going along.
Feel good where it is, Al?
Yeah.
Good.
I did have a
Well, I
question.
don't have enough female adult bathrooms yet, but I'm working on it.
How fine are, like, the railings, the details on that, what are they going to? Is it painted railings?
They're pretty much a painted steel railing. The handrails themselves that the kids are running their hands up and down every day are stainless steel.
Okay, good, because we have the painted ones in high school. The school I visited had the stainless steel, and it's night and day.
So we paint
So much
we
better.
paint the vertical balusters and
Yeah.
stuff, but the handrails that are getting the contact all day long are stainless steel.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Mhm.
great. Lock sets, is that something that gets chosen?
Yes, so if you're good at understanding lock sets, this volume has a pretty decent hardware spec in it with, coordinated with the drawing, so I can give you a door schedule, which has the hardware sets for the doors, the
Yep.
plans, you can see where they are and what's in the hardware set, but basically, we've got a lot of kind of magnetic locks for security doors, and then the classroom locks all have their classroom security function lock sets that the teacher can lock from inside the room without exiting the classroom.
Is that similar to what we have in the high school now?
I'd have to look at what's in the high school, because the high school was done recently, but long enough ago that the classroom security hardware sets weren't a standard thing going into school. So you may not have those lock sets in the high school right now. But you might possibly have them, I'd have to look.
They're classroom function.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke with a gentleman at the school we visited and asked him specifically about the locks.
Mhm.
They use Schlage, we have Falcon. He hasn't had a single cylinder gone bad. We've had at least 60 or 70 since opening, so I don't know if there's,
Well, if you want, that's what you're getting ready to say. If you
Yeah.
decide you want Schlage, then you need to vote and give us a letter to go in those documents that says you want proprietary equipment, not, because publicly bidded is catching projects. We just can't come in and say Schlage.
yeah.
We're gonna get, well, Schlage might be listed, but we're gonna get whichever they get the best deal on of the listed manufacturers. Unless, there's a whole process, and we're gonna have to sit down because the radio box for the fire department is something that is specific, they want this one. So there are a few things that are gonna be proprietary on the project. It's usually a school committee vote, it's not a building committee, it's a voting committee. Kind of have to research, and what you have to demonstrate is that it's in the public interest. That's why you're doing it, public interest to do this. And it could be, maybe the reason is that you're seeing a lot of failure, but this is a proven product. You basically have to show the research that this is in the public interest. This is why we're doing it. Hardware sets a lot of times, not the case necessarily here, but a lot of times for school districts, where they've got multiple buildings all on one keying system. That's where hardware sometimes gets into it, but it's just a process, so we'll have to sit with the OPM in the district and go through what that process is and make sure we get that started. I'd like to have all that kind of done for the July, the 90%, in August, the 90% submission, because MSBA that's their final look at it, and that's something they're definitely gonna wanna see, is that if we're putting anything proprietary into the specifications, that the district's gone, or the city's gone through the process to make sure that that's permissible on the job.
So the last school year, school committee meeting is June 11th, so we have to
Okay.
back that up. There'll be one in the month of July, but I don't know how it will back up against when your submission date is.
Mhm.
Oh, submission is August, you said, right?
It's in August.
Oh, August, okay. There should be one
But it's
in
early
July.
August.
There is a single meeting in
It's
July.
early
Yeah.
August, so if we could do it, it'd be good if we maybe,
There
work
is
with
one
Colliers
meeting in
for,
July.
work with Colliers to get a meeting in the next couple weeks, so we can just sit with you and go through what this process really is, and, make sure that we get that started, so.
Well, we're writing specifications around
Right.
that directive at that point too, so getting it in August doesn't help us.
It's right.
We need to have it in advance, so
Yeah,
these
the-
things can reflect those
The June meeting's
decisions.
definitely better if we can get the vote, if we can get everything taken care of ahead of that vote.
We should talk about those things this month, in the month of May.
Yeah, earlier, so that they have time to do what they need to in order to vote on
But
it.
as Bert suggested, that's more at the district level and the committee level,
It's a city thing, really,
city, yeah.
but the school committee is a committee, I believe, that's permitted to vote on that, so.
Well, the mayor and Shannon and Cindy are on that,
Mhm.
and Maren, so.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? We need a vote to accept the 60% reconciliation to be sent off to MSBA along with the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve.
One vote's okay.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to do what I just
Pat
said.
seconded.
Huh?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Says roundabout update. So I think,
Did you want to do that?
I'll do that afterwards.
Okay.
And done a good.
So you're gonna
Donna
update the
couldn't
design,
Ta-da.
you're gonna update on the design?
Pretty cool.
Or do you want to?
Yeah, I don't know if we really have much movement on the roundabout since last time we talked.
One design it based on the parameters that we're aware of.
Yeah, I did, after the last meeting, there were questions about where we were with the land acquisition. I did have a chance to talk to the mayor, and seeing she's here, I'll let Nicole update as to where we are with that.
So it's with the lawyers, the city attorney, and Williston's legal team. Williston really kind of stepped up to the plate and did a lot of the technical title work to put together a pretty interesting package to acquire land within the timeline established here. I hope to have a very detailed update I was hoping for tonight's meeting, but hopefully next meeting. But it's proceeding at a decent clip, and I feel confident that we will be able to acquire the appropriate land in the time for the roundabout using the last design. And Wilson has been going back and forth. And I've had several meetings with both Jeff Tennant and Chuck McCullough about exactly how we can proceed.
And if we were gonna back into a drop dead, we've gotta have that land in our control before,
Go to bid.
Before we go to bid.
Before we go to bid.
which is November,
Yes.
November, October.
Late October, early November.
Okay. I think the one thing we had talked about, Nicole, was once we come to an agreement, it goes to the city council.
Right.
That's where the mayor may need some help from us.
Yes.
Because if you've ever seen land acquisition or land transfers going through city council,
Yeah.
you might have more gray hair than you do now by the time it's finished. So it might not hurt for us to show up at some of those subcommittee meetings to say, hey guys, we're up against a deadline here.
Yeah.
Once the mayor gets that agreement between the city and Williston, goes to city council, we need to make sure they keep it moving, especially on their summer schedule.
Right.
That's where we can provide some assistance.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
We can be there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will need assistance, for sure.
We're there.
So my last thing is, we added the track alternate, but we don't have a lot of definition on what exactly you guys need to support your
Any
track
track.
program.
Any track.
So, does it have to, I'm assuming it has to comply
To
with
run
some
on.
kind of standard so that you can hold meets on it, you know,
Yes.
does that mean it's
Eight
an 8-lane track?
6 lane.
You know what I mean? So.
What's the standard?
8 is
Eight.
for competition.
They want competition. We
Yeah.
don't currently have competitions in our
And then
community.
your field events to make sure that we
Yes,
capture all of
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff too. So
yeah.
if we can get a kind of a detailed program for what you need for that
Okay.
track, that'd be.
We did price it for an 8 lane.
Right. I was gonna say,
It's
it's
priced priced for an 8-lane.
Why build it if you can't use it? for-
What's
And
the
it's kind of
surface
priced with.
product?
your estimate was $1 million plus.
A
You gotta be
rubberized
getting all the above.
asphalt.
We asked for
Thank you.
There could be something that we're not missing out in
Yes.
track and field guys, so.
That brings me to a question or a request. Brian Miller, our athletic director, wanted to come to a future meeting, still having some football challenges for, not next year, but, in the future, and just kind of wants to make sure everyone is aware of some of the high school football challenges that we have. But I think it would be good, he could talk specifically to the track thing too, if you want him to. I don't know if that would be appropriate at maybe the next meeting or
Sure.
a future meeting.
Sure, at a future meeting, or,
Sooner rather than later.
We might
Again, we're
come sit
preparing
with-
documents.
so it might be another one of those
We
district
might,
meetings.
we might come and meet with.
Yeah.
I think that's
With-
Oh, that
Usually
would be,
here and go
yeah,
needs
yeah,
to take place.
yeah.
It'd be more expeditious than trying to do it through or more efficient really even than trying to do it through a building committee meeting. I think.
Okay,
So,
Is
Alright.
track equipment going under furniture and fixtures?
Typically.
I'm just asking, no, I mean.
Typically.
Well, it just has to be.
I like that.
It has to
I
be
like
thought
that
about.
approach.
I did
Where are the
track.
hurdles coming from, where are you?
Right, yeah, that is all.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
not a division of construction.
No, it's not part of 1.2, it's part of.
Right.
I can,
Correct.
What is the maintenance on the synthetic track?
Oh, that's a question for our.
It's great for 10 years.
Track guy. So I can ask our landscape architect that's specifying it, but I think that it's a pretty, pretty typical current track surface, is what I'm trying to say. It's not like, you know, what I ran on probably when I was in high school.
Mm.
Gravel.
Well, yeah. I did run on some gravel tracks, but
I
not on
did
my
run on
home.
gravel.
We did too.
Have they invented gravel there?
You let me know when you set up a meeting with Brian.
Mhm.
I
I
can,
like
I'll, can I work on that with you? I'll have Brian come up here and then you can all sit down with him.
Yeah, just because Pat has been intimately involved with trying to
Absolutely. Yeah,
help
yeah.
the football
Yeah.
program keep going next year, so.
Yep.
And is there a lifespan on that track similar to like the football? Like that?
So it's
Synthetic field?
probably using the same lights, I'm guessing, but I can ask that question to
A
our
lifespan.
landscape architect.
I think Williston has redone theirs yet.
Mhm. I think that,
Track surface.
even knowing it was a future track coming, they kind of figured out where to place that stuff so that we wouldn't have to take lights down, even if we didn't do it as part of this project in the future to put it.
Well, I was thinking more
said-
of like, with
Where
the
I
turf
go.
field, you've got how many years
He
on
said
it?
life-
Oh, a life.
life-
I thought you said
life-
lights, okay, yeah.
Oh, no,
A lifespan, I can
Yeah.
ask, yeah. I mean, I don't know the
At least
off the top of my head what the lifespan of
Least
the track is.
I would think it's pretty long.
I would
It's
think
not
so,
used
too.
like football,
I
so.
think it's
Right.
longer, it would be longer, yeah.
That's what people drive on.
So,
Yeah.
all right, that's all I have, except if you guys want to watch a little video of the school.
Let's watch a video.
We brought it. It's only about 2 minutes long, so.
A trailer.
Right.
No music.
There is, you just can't hear it, because it's on the projector.
This is where you sing, Dave. Want to empty out the room?
What are we naming the school?
We're gonna do a naming thing next year. That's in the fall.
I was just curious.
There's some. You try.
This is the middle school side of the building.
Beautiful.
That was Alan asking me to try to do something.
Blame the OPM.
I tried to turn up the sound, it didn't work. Oh, what's over here?
There you go.
I don't know if people will hear it anyways, but I'll turn it up. Yeah, you can't really hear it any better.
These are not our colors.
Specifically the
Specifically
railings.
the
Yeah.
railings.
The blue. All the orange.
But this is what
That's just what's in right
MSBA
now.
will see
That's
in
what
this
makes me
next.
nervous.
They've already
That
seen
was the
this
feedback
video,
that
they
we
have
got.
this detail, or is
I think
this?
they should stick with them all of them orange.
Well, that carpet has lasted in the library.
You guys aren't doing green, are you?
No.
We could
Because
always
those
take it
chairs
out
get
and
so
re-fill it.
dirty. We
Yeah,
have them at work.
avocado and orange are
That's
We
historic.
have the green ones at work. They're
Green is
so
supposed to be
gross.
commended.
It's like what we saw at Sherwood.
Barnes people chose these colors. Well, the maroon chairs are okay.
These are buses.
Our school buses don't look like that.
We're getting new ones of those.
Yeah.
Not in the budget.
So we put the video together really to generate conversations about colors and things. So, you know, they're not necessarily the same colors. Sometimes they're not even colors that we would pick, but that's what we had available as a library to put a chair in a room, for instance. You know, so there's only so much stuff out there that we can grab and kind of populate the scenes with. Just like the buses weren't school buses, they were just buses, city buses. But to give you a kind of a feeling of what the space is gonna be, what the building, the feel of the building will be when you get it. So-
Can you run it again?
You want to run again?
Did it show like a parent drop-off where they would drop students off with their?
This
car?
video doesn't, but there are parent drop-offs.
Are we doing, there's no lock, are we doing lockers?
There are lockers on the middle school side, not the elementary school side.
Okay.
So that's what those kind of brown
Okay.
cardboardy things that we're going
Yep.
by right now are.
Yep.
Pardon me.
Very cool.
There are some features there that remind you of high school a little bit. The seating along the tall windows, looking outside, and the staircase coming down reminds you a little bit of high school.
Yeah, we heard. So that's on the middle school side, we don't have that same thing against the windows on the elementary school side,
Right.
but as the kids get older, they should, you know, have older options, mature options to choose from, so.
It made me think of it too, Allison, when I saw the beginning that said, you know, Maple Elementary, middle school. One of your biggest hurdles in the next 3 years is gonna be, what's the name of this building?
That's what I just asked.
We have, in our team planning, it's one of the things we have set for the fall to work on,
Yeah.
the naming of the school. And, you know, involving all the stakeholders and
It'll be a
that
task.
process, yeah.
That'll be part of the passing the override question.
I thought it was the Tom Brown.
Yeah, right.
That'll just solve it.
Memorial?
No, it's always tough with them. I mean, what,
Yeah.
geography, you can't go wrong with geography, that's where you got White Brook, but, you know, Park Street School, whatever, but you start getting into naming a person, you get, next thing you know, they'll find some Civil War background on a person and make you tear it down or something.
So did Easthampton High School have to go through a process? I mean, I know it was Easthampton High School, the old building, so
Yeah.
they just decided to keep it Easthampton High School, yeah.
No, the only recent process was this building, about 20 years ago, there was a committee that named this building, and they did pretty well, if you ask me.
Yeah.
What's the name of
No.
this?
This
What's the
building.
name of this?
50 Payson.
50 Payson, it's on the outside of
And
them.
I wasn't too impressed by it, anyway.
For the high school project, we also had a subcommittee that evaluated, because there were proposals to name, like, the library
Right.
after
Oh, yeah.
someone and name different parts of the building.
Yeah.
After different individuals, and so there was a subcommittee formed to evaluate all of that. And that subcommittee came to the conclusion, and a lot of people had recommended individuals, and that committee came to the conclusion that we weren't gonna name any
was
part of
gonna
the building
say,
after
was
any
it- were there-
person,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to step up with $109 million.
Well,
It is- it
Because
is-
there are only so many places, and you're
Yeah.
out of them pretty quick, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
feeling
We'll
was
leave the
that
cafeteria after first.
certain people mean, there's a memory for a certain
Right.
community of people at a certain time
Time
and
in the world,
place.
yeah.
And that, but that's not something that's continual, and overall, it meets some needs at a certain point in time for a certain segment of people, but that's it.
I don't know
So,
who Pepin is.
because it's a community resource meant to be last a significant number of amount of
It's a big
time,
plaque.
there would be no specific person
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
named.
Have you been
Yeah.
voluntold to be on athletic field
Oh,
naming
please.
committees? Steer clear of names.
Just the name,
Oh.
just know.
Well,
the name.
Pepin School was the first one that was an individual. Before that was Park School, and originally it was the high school.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the second high school. Memorial Hall was the first high school.
So where the massage parlor is on the Rotary, that was the first.
Oh,
Massage school.
That, this is parlor.
Sorry. Massage school.
Wow.
That was the first high school.
Okay.
Second was.
I didn't know that was the first high school.
It looks nothing like it did originally. But anyway, if this was only in middle school, you'd have no reason to not keep it Whitebrook Middle School.
Right.
Right. But obviously, it's changing the whole dynamic, being elementary, all of that.
Yeah.
Somewhat related, and I'm wondering the timing of it. So today we started our downtown strategic planning process, which will go from now until December of 19. And a part of that process is looking at the 3 elementary schools. So I would just put forward to this committee, we'll have some really great data, and working with the school committee and the superintendent to surplus those buildings as soon as possible so we can hit the market. Whether that's public reuse, whether that's, an RFP and they get sold or whatnot. But there's just a great window to do that around this schedule, if everything goes on timing. So I'll take this information, we're gonna give it to those consultants and just come up with some timing scenarios, which I understand that there's a process, and I'll name, when we're very close, a reuse committee separate from the strategic planning sounding board we have now.
Yeah, Larry took Jeff and them around too.
Yeah.
Okay, I did want to spend 2 minutes talking a little bit about the ad alternates, and sort of dovetailing with that. I know we said we have till September, but when I stepped into this role, it wasn't totally because of the salary. Pat's gonna text me later, you're getting paid? But I promised that we wouldn't meet unless we had a reason to meet. I don't wanna meet just because we have a meeting, so in checking with Bert and Alan really quickly here, we may very well not need to meet in June and July. Meetings are probably gonna ramp up when we get into construction a little bit, so taking a little bit of time off won't hurt. As long as you're somewhat available, if for some reason we get a call and said, hey, we need a vote on something went bump with MSBA, we need a vote on something, I'd call a meeting really quick for that. The next submission for that 90% is in August. 13th. So if we meet on August 13th, that would give us time to vote on another pile like this. The only reason I went around in that circle is that August 13th is only a little bit more than a month away from when we would have to nail down the ad alternates. So that's why I wanted to talk the order of the ad alternates. It sounds pretty easy right now because it sounds like we're going to be able to fund them all, but there's never a guarantee of that. And they have to be funded in the order that we selected. So we can't, if there was more money or less money, we can't leapfrog them. So if we say they go 1, 2, 3, 4, we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't decide to skip 1 and go to 2 or 3. They have to go in the order they were submitted. So we don't have to nail it down tonight, but we would probably have to nail it down at that August meeting, unless there's time for a September meeting before.
There would be, but it'd be nice to get it at least what we're pretty sure is gonna be the order in the 90% again, because it's MSBA's last chance to take a look at it. But if something comes up and we decide to change our mind at the last minute, you do have that opportunity as
We've
long
gone
as it's
round and
under
round,
12.
is there an order now?
There is, well, there
No,
is
officially.
just in the documents, but it's, nothing's in concrete.
What's it in the documents?
I think it's, still reflects the roundabout, the maintenance building, the terrazzo, and then the track last. But that's probably not the order that you guys wanna do it. And because the estimates are basically $1 million each, it really comes down to not so much a money decision. A lot of times these get hard because you say, well, we don't know if we'll have enough money to do this one, so we wanna make sure that we get that ahead, you know, it's less money, we have a better chance of getting it, so put the more expensive one on.
How are we gonna do, like, how do you propose we do this? You guys have sat in these meetings before. We have 4 items, correct? I mean, my 1, 2, 3, 4 might be different than Deb's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So how are we going, what's the easiest way
You're
for us
supposed to
to?
bring stickers.
I think it's gonna be.
That's
I
almost,
think
yeah,
it's
that's
gonna
what
be
I
a
was.
majority go to the committee.
It is a needs
Yeah, but-
basis, so it's almost, almost do a matrix on it and take a vote. That you say, okay, how many say the roundabout's the most important thing to be the first at alternate?
So if I
Or how
were,
many say that the maintenance building is the first?
But if we vote in August and the ad alternate is our first one because of need,
The which one is the
and we
first?
don't, I'm just saying if it is.
Which
and we
one?
don't-
Which one?
Yeah, I mean, the roundabout.
Roundabout.
On the dates.
If we don't own that land and something falls through at the time of bid, then none of our ad alternates.
Correct.
So I'm thinking the opposite. I am not inclined to spend a lot of money and time looking at a land swap if we don't know the roundabout is number one.
Right.
Because we've already got some good money invested in this, and when we're talking about being ahead, there's some legal costs to acquiring land, not to mention, there are certain, right now in the land deal with Williston, there's some interesting connections and tit for tat kind of with trying to figure out the value of things. And they have some timely items that, quite honestly, will benefit the city in that negotiation.
So I think the pressure's off a little bit because of where we are with the budget. I don't mean that we get fat, dumb, and sassy because of that, but the roundabout to me, granted, we only had a few Park Street residents come forward and talk about the issues with traffic, but we all know what the traffic study people said. It's an F today and it's gonna be an F plus going forward. It's gonna be a cluster if we do nothing with that entrance to that school, when all the buses and all the parents are trying to get their kids there. Granted, there'll be some staggered start times, but I think we're doing a disservice to the, people are gonna end up hating the school if they can't get to it. Think about sporting events or high school, or not high school, but school plays and things that are going on with traffic. I don't know, I think, in my mind, the roundabout's always been number one.
so we have roundabout, maintenance building, track, and terrazzo floor, correct?
That's the four.
Alright,
is-
so
now-
if you wanna do like, so can we do a straw poll to figure out who thinks the roundabout should be number 1? And then
Sure.
Can I just,
Yeah, can I
ask one more
I'm
question?
confused.
The point that Allison raised about land control, what happens if, at the time we go out to bid, we don't have control? Does it just drop out altogether?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to have land control
We
by
have-
bid. I mean,
MSBA is gonna
before.
require that we have
Right.
control of that land,
Yeah.
ownership and control of that land.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Can we put this decision then off as long as possible to find out?
We could, but putting it off as long as, our next meeting is August,
Right.
and then by the following meeting, we have to have it nailed down.
But will we know
But that
if
would
we
give
have?
Nicole time.
But we should have.
I'm counting on, I'm going on the assumption that the land acquisition will happen. If it doesn't happen, I would think at the 11th hour, we could pull that alternate
Yeah,
out.
it's just,
Yeah, you
We can pull it out.
guys can locate it wherever you
put a
want,
big extra.
and then if you don't have it, that one comes out and everything just slides.
Okay, that's
So
a
at
different
5
scenario.
minutes before midnight, we could pull out,
That-
say,
Yeah.
no
That was
roundabout.
the question.
Okay.
So if it was number 1, it would, number 2 would become number 1.
Correct.
Bert and I were talking logistically, we have to submit this on August 14th, but they have to print a lot of material to send to the MSBA or electronically put it together. we probably need a meeting at the end of July, beginning of August, 2 weeks, give them 2 weeks' time
Before the 13th?
before the 13th. I would say that at the end of July, very beginning of August, we should meet at the very
In
latest.
place of the 13th?
No,
No, because we
no, I
won't
think-
have this ready for you to approve.
In addition to.
It would be
In addition to.
Yeah. So we
So
don't
2
need-
weeks in a row, maybe?
we
the
could be
13th?
specific, yeah, two
I don't know
weeks
the
ahead.
dates, but say
August 6th.
August 1st and August 13th. I don't know.
Something
or
like that, whether it's
31st.
July 29th.
It'd be
or
July
13th.
30th.
July 30th is a Tuesday?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And the
July
13th, we have a school committee meeting. So that sounds like it's gonna be a quick one, because
It's
it's
quick
just.
like this,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Okay.
basically, takes me more time to lug the stuff up the stairs.
So, okay, July
Challenge that
30th,
money.
August 13th.
So,
Do that.
Yeah,
So
I
go
mean,
back-
I think we need to have that additional meeting because, not to be a negative Nelly, but the city property subcommittee could slow things down. Just, not that I know of, in the past, they haven't moved too fast. And sometimes, because of the fact that it's, Williston, there's a few people on the council that wanna stick it to Williston. So, you kinda need a little bit of time, just a little bit of
Yes.
buffer for that meeting.
Do they meet on a regular basis or only as needed?
No, they meet on a regular
Okay.
basis, and the subcommittee as well. The city council only meets once in June, July, and August. The subcommittees are pretty regular in the meetings through the summer.
Okay.
And they have, kind of a heads up that we'll need some subcommittee review, not just on this project, but some other stuff. And it will involve matters for property, so, it's just about hitting getting it to city council as soon as possible for consideration to get it referred to subcommittee and trying, the space I feel needed is around those subcommittee reviews, and property.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to my straw vote. Let's try and, on paper, see how this looks.
Just to confirm that the maintenance building, did we finally figure whether the whole maintenance is in there?
It's the whole
with-
maintenance.
With every,
We didn't.
Yeah, we didn't break that
parse
into
it out?
pieces now.
I know we went back and forth a few meetings
Fit
ago.
out.
What do you mean?
Before it was a shell that could be fit out later, and we said, no, it's a full maintenance building that has plumbing and electrical, everything in
Okay.
it that needs to be
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
All right,
There's
so-
a concessions.
What's that?
There's a concession
Right.
space with plumbing to it.
Right,
But it's
right.
not fit out.
Right.
So
Right.
we're hearing the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted
And
to
it
make
still
sure
has
everybody
the-
knew what
the,
was.
The room, the changing rooms or whatever you call them.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, so for Lestrade numbers, who thinks the roundabout should be number one on the alternate list? By a show of hands.
Provided we can change it at the last minute.
Yes.
Definitely change it.
4, 5, 6. All right. Who thinks the maintenance building should be number one? Great. 2, 4, 5. Who thinks the track should be number one? Who thinks the terrazzo floor should be number one? Okay. All right. So we have some stuff to work on.
Well, no,
I mean,
well,
we
well,
could,
your next step.
so then what, number two, so who
Yeah.
thinks that the roundabouts should be number two on the list, right? That's what I would do.
Well, if your majority ruled that it's number one, right? I
Well,
just-
again, this is just
Oh,
us,
okay,
we're just
okay.
kind of figuring out the numbers. So who thinks the roundabout should be number two on the list?
Oh, no, not me.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think,
my bad.
if you do what Allison's saying.
I'm trying to.
If
Take
it wins
that off.
number one, you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Take that one
Now
out,
what
just
is
deal
it?
with the other
Why
three.
Prioritize the next three.
You could do ranked choice voting.
I know.
I was
I was waiting for you to say
I
it.
need
Tell
time.
us that.
I know.
Somebody's gonna explain that at next?
Yeah. Tom Peak is coming in,
This is.
and maybe he'll bring a pizza. That's how
What
he
should-
explained it to
I
us
really-
in charter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maintenance building by default becomes number two,
Yeah.
because that had the next highest votes.
So then the track or the terrazzo floor.
That's what you're debating right now.
Well, let's throw it out there.
All right,
you
so
know.
who thinks the track should be number three?
No, who thinks the track should come ahead of the terrazzo floor? Or who
Okay,
thinks-
yeah. Who thinks the track should be ahead of the terrazzo floor?
Could we have a little explanation of terrazzo floor, the benefit of that versus
Pretty
what
floor.
it would be if it's not terrazzo?
Not pretty, durable.
Durable.
And easily maintained. Think lobby of the high school. versus other surfaces.
But it does,
Otherwise
it
it's
is
polished
more
concrete.
visually pleasing.
It's
Oh,
a,
it
it's
is
a,
definitely
it's a
better looking.
significant upgrade
Easier
from what we're
to
carrying in the
maintain.
base bed.
And what is the other floor?
That we're carrying in the
Yeah,
base bed, it's a
concrete.
color polished concrete.
Color polished concrete.
Mhm. And there's a whole range of polished concrete floors you could probably look at, from a car dealership that's nice and reflective to Walmart. Or Old Navy.
Old Navy's
So-
not that pretty.
So we're not specing the
Yeah,
Old
I'd rather
Navy
not
on
go
or the
with the Old
Walmart.
Navy floor.
But we're not
Find
It's not
specing,
necessarily
any
gray.
you know,
So-
car polished end that you can look at the Lamborghini's reflection on it either, so.
That's
So
all we
the
do in
Terrazzo's
the
a big
lobby.
upgrade.
So durability is, so what are we talking about for durability for the stuff that's in the base bed versus durability for terrazzo?
They're both durable, it's just easier to maintain and what I would
The
call
problem
an
with concrete is,
acceptable
it's,
finish.
it's just
That's
concrete
just
that's spit on, it's not, it's concrete. It's like you're selling floor with a coat of paint, it's not that much better. I mean, it's polished, it's durable, but it's not the same,
Yeah.
it doesn't wear as well.
If it helps at all, in clarification, the MSBA will not participate in any of these ad alternates. There's nothing, it's not, they're not gonna participate at all in the maintenance building, they're not gonna participate in a terrazzo floor, the roundabout, or the track.
Right.
So
Yeah,
they're all,
yeah, we're clear. I
they're
think
all
we're-
apples for apples in that
We're all
regard.
clear. Yep.
So maintenance of the base floor would be greater going forward to maintain that than a terrazzo floor? More expense, more time, more money?
The Terrazzo's gonna look nicer longer.
With
I-
less cleaning?
I think you gotta clean them both, I mean.
You gotta clean them both, but they don't really have to maintain the
Amazon
terrazzo.
shelf, it has a
I
longer
don't think you
use
have to
life.
maintain
It's just
concrete.
gonna either
Exactly, but the.
look
It's
shabby
how,
or.
how polished the
Yeah.
space looks.
Which,
Think of a
I
car
think it's
that
really
has
about
a
that.
car that's lost
$9
its
million
finish.
building, you
You
wanna
can
look
wash
at
it,
shiny
and wash
gray
it, and
floors.
wash it, that's what concrete's like. At some point in time, you're cleaning it, it's sanitary, but it just, it lost its, it doesn't look right.
so between the track and the terrazzo, which one's most beneficial to the district?
Track.
My answer, I guess.
All right, so I'll,
You gotta
by
get
show
them
of
all.
hands, who puts the track ahead of the floor?
Sorry, Mary.
And then the terrazzo floor ahead of the track. Alright. So, again, this is not an official, an official anything until we vote on it at some point. But if I were to go by, just this little exercise we did, it would be the roundabout, maintenance, just how we said it originally. The roundabout, the maintenance building, the track, and then the floor would be the order. So we have to, at some point, at least we have kind of a ballpark of where we are.
Yeah, and if Shannon has this in the minutes,
Yeah.
the couple folks that aren't here, maybe just one, I'm not sure, Mary, we'll see this in the minutes and maybe weigh in.
Right, and it may.
May I ask a question as to who makes the decision as to which alternates are optioned?
You mean, he signs the contract?
Yes,
You will, based on where you are with your budget in the end.
Who's-
They have to be ranked.
the city does.
Right, right, the awarding authority.
The owner.
The
The owner
awarding-
makes that decision.
Correct.
Yes,
You
that's
tell
what's-
us where to
yeah.
rank them, and if you have money to do them all.
But they have to be taken
Decide
into
to-
that
But
value.
Curtis, wouldn't the money be making the decision? I mean, if this is costing $4 million, there's only $3 million left over.
You may decide that you
don't-
only want to let 3 go.
Right.
You know,
Which is why
for
the
whatever
rankings
reason, you
work.
get cold feet less.
The bids may come in so much higher than we're anticipating that you want to save some money for furniture and technology, so you don't take all three.
You would hold out. for
And
You
you
don't
don't
have to take them.
No.
You do, no, it's an alternate.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
your choice.
Matter of
that
fact,
you're
at the end of the
taking.
day, when the bids come in, we could simply just say,
We're not
we don't want to do any of the.
We'll take the money.
We'll just keep the money.
Yep.
What if the city decides that?
What if the city what?
Decides that?
Well,
I think it's,
we are
I think it's this
the.
committee.
This
I think it's this
committee would recommend to the city
Right.
what their decision is.
Yeah, I hear you saying, there's some political stuff with the roundabout, I'm sure. But
What were you thinking, Curtis? Why were you hesitant? You seemed hesitant.
I'm always hesitant.
I know, I know you are.
Because I'm always looking at the other side.
Right.
I wasn't part of the last building project, but
I
I
just want to make sure
heard
I'm
that
not
there were
missing
some
something big.
efforts in making decisions along the way to spend less than what the budget was. And that's why I asked that question. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
That's a very watered down yes.
Very gracious.
Well,
Actually, the most politically correct way of saying that. Those charter school classes have paid off. Because if you were here, you would not be that nice about it.
I guess, Gail, back to Allison's point, from our experience with the high school, the city does have some control over that.
Well, that's, and I understand
we wanted to know.
that as owner, they get to make those decisions, but I wanted to understand it and
I
thinking
think what we
about
have
it.
going for us this time is I don't see Nicole as a micromanager of that type of project. That's my gut. I don't see Nicole down there trying to convince them which roofing shingle to use.
Ultimately, I think it's going to play out between Nicole and Allison, but, you know, we, as a community, we just put our efforts, and that's the end of it. We just, you know, we put our suggestions. But I'll be honest with you, the land acquisition I'm nervous about. Our city treasurer can be passive aggressive.
Well, the good news with that one though, Dave, is that makes a decision for us. If we don't, if the drop dead
We're
date,
still trying to do our best job.
we are, but at 5 of 12, if this has to be submitted and we don't have the land, it comes off.
Yep.
I understand.
We have to,
I-
otherwise everything else is dead.
Exactly.
I totally understand that, and, you know, that's the way it has to be.
But that's why I think the mayor was being pretty blunt and open about it, is we need people in the seats at those subcommittee meetings to keep the process moving. Because you know how it'll work, it'll just drag on.
I wouldn't tell them I had until November to make a decision.
Well, that's it. And you see, the land acquisition is actually a trade.
You're just kidding.
And that trade, Wilson wants to receive a piece of land,
Yeah.
which has been controversial with the
I get it.
DPW in the past. So, they want to own Brewster Court. That's what Wilson wants in exchange. That's just conceptual, there's other things. But previously, the DPW did not want to give up Brewster Court. And so, you know, hopefully Nicole pushes it along and we can help with some pressure, but you could get bogged down.
But so procedurally, so we put the roundabout number 4, and the drop dead date comes, we don't own the property, we just lose number 4, right? We don't lose all the ad alternates above it?
Correct. Start at the top.
But even if you put it at number one.
Even if it's number one,
Number one, it just comes off.
and we don't have the land,
So it's
Then
dead.
we just exit and
Correct.
move everything
Pull it
down,
out.
so.
So
the
I
next
didn't
one just
realize
shifts
that.
up.
Then that could be number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You can leave it number 1 and pull it out at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's less.
We'll know before we go to the bidder,
Yeah.
if we
But-
have the land.
But the other thing is, we talk about people in the seats and impacting movement of city council or subcommittees. If there's an issue of the roundabout, there'll be more people in seats than just us.
Yeah.
All you can do is get the word out a little bit, and you can get a bunch of people to be at those meetings to try to push it forward.
I'm just being a little bit negative just because of time. You know, if we had a year, I'd be a little bit, more caliber.
Time will tell.
We did every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
there you go, okay.
Here we are today.
It's,
Yeah.
time has slipped away.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so
Yeah, it does slip away.
So our next dates are,
our next meeting would be July 30th
okay, and August 13th?
and August 13th. I'm pretty sure I'm away July 30th. You can have to double check. Okay, ready for the afternoon?
So, are you adjourning?
And August, is
Alan,
what, August, we can meet at the normal time as long as it's a quick meeting.
Yep.
Yes. So, Alan, Bert, Curtis, great job with all this stuff.
Thank you.
Estimating, 60% submission, thank you all, thank the committee.
If anyone wants to know, we did add this video to our website
Oh, nice.
under the school
nice.
building project piece, so if you wanna
Did you put
show
a
anybody.
big disclaimer that says
No orange chairs.
not exactly as,
Not representation.
Architect's representation may
Still-
not represent the actual life.
Yeah.
So
That's
Like
good news, I can read about
I
orange
did
chairs
put
on
something.
Facebook this
Yeah.
weekend.
There we go.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Now we can
Alright.
pull the plug.